How do we heal the fearful avoidant attachment style, also known as the disorganized attachment? If you have read about this attachment style on the internet, you might know that it is characterized by unresolved trauma, which makes it very difficult to heal. However, what this attachment style has going for it is a tremendous amount of determination and willingness to do shadow work and to do the work itself. The biggest obstacle that I see with my clients is that the fearful avoidants tend to have many interests and they don't give the specific technique a good enough trial. So often they will hop around from doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this, and this disorganized pattern, this chaos that created this attachment style can also manifest in their healing journey. And like my friend used to tell me, you're digging lots of holes and you're not getting to water because you're not going deeply enough and consistently enough into one healing journey. And it is very true. So although we do have to try out things and see what things work for us, once we get something that does work for us or has worked for other people, we can then just persevere in something. And this is sometimes the most challenging part for the fearful avoidant, is to stay consistent. Consistency generally bores the hell out of them. So on the one hand, they thrive on routine. They might be very organized and clean in their house, in their environment, at work. However, there is this pattern of chaos as they move through their life and they kind of jump. It's almost like this ADD brain. It's like jumping now from like, oh, now I'm doing this healing modality. Now I'm doing therapy, or no therapy. I didn't like the therapist or something was not okay there. And then I'm jumping to plant medicine. And then, so you can experience a lot of things as the fearful avoidant on your healing journey, which can be so interesting. But at the same time, it is helpful to just pick one thing and stick to it. Okay, so in this video, I'm just going to talk to you about something super basic that if you do this one thing, you're going to start seeing results in your mental health, in your relationships, in your energy, because a lot of fearful avoidants tend to burn out quite quickly. They tend to be resentful in relationships. They tend to feel used in relationships, and they don't understand how that happens. They also get their trust broken a lot of the time, and they might feel very alone in life. So in this video, I'm going to give you this one step that you can do after this video and apply it in your life, and you will see immediate results and start healing your attachment style. It is boiling. I think it's like 38 degrees today. And where we stay in South Africa, we don't really have air cons in the apartments, so I might be sweating. It's just a part of the video today. All right. So the one thing that I want to share with you today is just needs. Okay, I'm doing a video of needs, need fulfillment for every single attachment style, and how to use that information and how to work with your emotional needs to heal your attachment. So the fearful avoidant is a combination style of the anxious and the disorganized. You kind of could say that. And it might be beneficial for you to go and watch those videos as well, so that you can see how that applies in your life if it does. So for the fearful avoidant, what they will experience is that they are extremely attuned to everybody else. They are hypervigilant, and this hypervigilant originated from childhood because they had to be hyper attuned to the subtle energy changes in their environment because they had to survive like that. Perhaps mom or dad had anger outbursts and the child had to figure out a way to know when is a good time to ask mom for a lift to a friend's house. When is it not a good time? When is it a good time to approach dad? When is it not a good time? Okay, so the child couldn't just rely on hearing. Like in a secure family, somebody would say like, you know what, I'm having a really rough day. It's not a good time to speak about it. Can we speak about it later? So there was verbal communication, which makes the person receiving that communication, the child, go like, oh, okay, cool, mom is having a bad day. This is what's happening for her. It's her issues. And there wasn't any volatility. However, with the fearful avoidance, there might have been volatility, there's chaos. One moment the parent is cool and maybe loving, and then cool as I mean like very warm and loving, and then the next moment something changes and they become scary to the child. So the child is like, oh my gosh, okay, I have to figure out why this happens. So now I'm going to pick up subtle expressions in mom's face and read her energy, read any subtle shifts in how she's feeling, if I said something to offend her, if I did something, if dad did something. So I'm going to be very hyper aware, and I'm going to walk around on eggshells, constantly reading the room. And this is why the fearful avoidant is hyper aware of everybody else's needs. Because they think, if I can take care of everybody else's needs, I am going to be safe. And their adult wish, and maybe like a child wish even, is that if I do that enough for somebody else, they will also reciprocate and do it for me. Or sometimes they just think that this is the way life is because that's what they know. This was their family unit. So they think that everybody goes around feeling this way and fulfills each other's needs on that level. So what this looks like in a relationship, or a work relationship, romantic relationship, family relationship, is that I will anticipate my partner's needs. So I will think about like, oh, my partner looks like they don't have time to make food today, so I'm going to just cook them dinner. Or they don't have time to iron their clothes, so I'm going to do it for them. So the fearful avoidant goes around and does these things for their partner, and after some time, they expect their partner to do the same thing for them. And most of the time, other people, unless you tell them about your needs, will not do that. So this is the tricky part, is when the fearful avoidant doesn't receive that same giving in return, they start to feel unloved, and that makes them feel rejected. It makes them feel resentful, often leads them to shut down or volatility. Sometimes it's volatility first and then shut down, but it can go in between those two. And this is why it is so important for the fearful avoidant to start fulfilling their own emotional needs. So you can go to my website under the resource tab. There are two lists. The one list is a feelings list, and then the other list is a needs list. So what you can do is sit with the emotion list every day and just pick, like, what am I feeling? This is the emotion. I'm feeling sad. Okay, where do I feel sadness in my body? Maybe I feel it in my heart or my belly. And then what is that sadness asking me to do? Every single emotion that we have is an indication of an unmet need. It's like hunger and fullness cues. We are hungry, it signals to us that our body needs to eat to sustain itself. It's exactly the same thing. We have an emotion, that emotion then tells us, I need to do something to help me alleviate those emotions. And there we go to the needs list, and we're like, oh, okay, I'm sad, I need communication, so I'm going to phone my friend, or I'm going to ask my partner if we can have a nice, deep, meaningful conversation, which is often almost a love language, I say, for the dismissive, or for the fearful avoidant rather. So once you start to recognize, this is my emotion, this is my need, this is how I can fulfill it, you can even journal about this. You can put it in a journal. It's like 4 columns: emotion, need. The next column will be, how do I fulfill this for myself, or how do I get it fulfilled from my environment, from my partner, from my family members. And it's nice to journal about it and just get really clear about how to fulfill those needs. And once you start doing that, you start to lift your mood. You feel a lot more confident. And if you do it for yourself, it's also going to be easier to tell people about what it is that you need. Fearful avoidants often hate asking people for stuff. That's their avoidant part. That part of them doesn't want to be vulnerable. Receiving from another is a very vulnerable position. So they often are in this power position, which they put themselves in, but they also hate at the end of the day. It makes them resentful. It's like they give. It's like, oh, I've got so much I can give. I can handle so much stress. I can do whatever. And then eventually they start to feel extremely depleted. So once you fulfill your needs, you are going to start to feel a lot more energized. You will create a subconscious pattern of need fulfillment, which will make you want to ask for your needs to be met by another person. It will make it a lot more acceptable for you for that to happen. And once we know our needs, we also know our boundaries, which the fearful avoidants really struggle with. They think they might be good at boundaries, but often those boundaries are very reactive, and it's like a slam door shut once they've been pushed to their maximums, or they allow themselves to go to past their maximum actually. And usually fearful avoidants will say something like, I'm fine up to a point, and then once people cross that point, I just cut them off, or I tell them what I mean, or what I'm all about, or something like that. So you can see it's like this very reactive push back because they feel like they cannot set their boundaries. But it all starts with tracking your emotions, connecting to your needs. Okay, fulfilling that for yourself, and also inviting other people to fulfill that for you. And the fearful avoidant, when it comes to needs, they will swing between like the anxious, preoccupied individuals, where they will either want all of their needs to be met by their partner without actually asking about it from their partner, and making little like snide, critical remarks of their partner, like, oh, you're home late, like you don't care. The reason for this is that because they're already anticipating being met with some kind of pushback. Their partner, instead of saying something like, hey, you know what, I would really love you to come home on time so we can have a nice dinner, and I miss you. So instead of that vulnerability, they will just criticize their partner, because if they think that if I'm that open and vulnerable and then my partner rejects me, I am going to be extremely hurt. So there is this like, it's usually an unconscious game that they play, but now that I mention it, maybe you start to become conscious if this is something that you do. So it helps to ask for your needs to be met directly. And then when people don't or can't meet your needs, then you have to have a backup plan of how do you get those needs met, right? So say now, for example, your partner can't come home at the specific time and you need a deep conversation. You can't have that with your partner. What are you going to do? Are you going to journal? Are you going to phone a friend? How else can you soothe yourself? How else can you fulfill that need by yourself? And then on the flip side, they can be like the dismissive partner, where they don't want to ask for anything, right? So like they are overwhelmed. They often take a lot because they are overcompensating for feeling not good enough and unworthy. So they are in the world like working to their maximum and taking on so much that they don't even realize how much they take on. And you know, their partner like doesn't do the dishes, or leaves a cup out of the dishwasher, or leaves their socks not in the laundry basket, and that can send the fearful avoidant completely off the edge, because they work so hard to accommodate their partner, and they think that the partner should know my needs. They should anticipate the needs without me asking. Okay, so then they start to grow resentment. And also, they don't want to be that vulnerable person and ask, like, you know what, I actually need somebody to do the dishes, or could you cook dinner, or could you fetch my laundry, or you know what, I just really need to have connection and cuddle today. I had a really rough day. I need emotional support, which looks like XYZ. So just being able to communicate those needs will greatly reduce the fearful avoidant from feeling used, from constantly feeling alone in everything, because they feel alone because they don't let anybody else in, right? Like they put on this big mask of like, I'm fine, I've got it all under control. Everybody looks at them and they go like, wow, this person has got it together, right? Usually fearful avoidants are like high functioning individuals. So everybody looks at them like, okay, they've got it together. I don't need to do anything. So that makes them feel extremely alone. And letting people in a little bit at a time, right? Like you don't have to just all of a sudden show up with your most deepest, most vulnerable secrets, but just expose yourself to that a little bit at a time, you know? And then once you start to see that, oh, this could work, I could get my needs met through another by asking in a gentle, kind way, and that feels good, I can start to rely on others. I'm not all alone in this world. I can start to trust others. I've also mentioned trust in this video, but I will make a separate video on that because it is quite a big topic, so I'm not actually going to cover it in here. But start fulfilling your needs, and it will stop making you feel so resentful and volatile. It will stop you from feeling used and also feeling so alone in the world. And it will just boost your energy. Your mental health will thank you for it. So let me know if you're going to try this. Let me know if you recognize any of these patterns in yourself, or perhaps somebody in your life. And also, if you have any questions or comments, please put them down below. Thank you for being on this channel. Thank you for all the new subscribers, for the likes, for all the comments. I really love hearing from you. Till I see you next time. Big love.